Your deconstruction journey. Where are you at? Question and answer as well. I think we need to put it like this. These are from my 31-day deconstruction intention tools, helping people to deconstruct. Let me get YouTube straight. Because it's a glare for you guys. It's a glare. Okay. That works for you, YouTube. I got to get YouTube right. There we go. All right. As we are on our deconstruction journey, we are learning to reprogram our thoughts, reprogram our mind. And that takes work. Let me also get this set up. I'll put this in the chat as well, where you can get the 31-day intention cards. Share the live, tap the screen. If you have questions, answers that you need when it comes to deconstructing as well. And there's more than that topic besides deconstruction. There's a lot, but we'll put share the live and all the good things. And Dorian.com. Why is that blocked like that? All right, there we go. I'm free, carefree, religion free, pastor free, church free, and finally free. I'm church clothes free. Deconstructing over here is about freedom. That's what it comes down to. It's all about freedom. And a lot of people are threatened by that. That's why they go off. That's why they're resistant, because some people are more afraid of freedom than they are. They'd rather stay in their bondage because that's safe. It's safe to go to church. It's safe to go have a pastor. It's safe to be told what to do. So here we are. This is August, because today is August 28th, and this is from 31-day deconstruction. It's also in booklet form. So we are here. Some people had some questions and answers, and I'm also here on YouTube. And this is the card for today. And this is what people need when they are on their deconstruction journey. Some people do not have any kind of tools. They don't have anything to work with. They just, okay, I'm out of here now. Now what do I do? Let's see. Go pin. We'll do that. Easily track. And pin this comment. All right. There we go. It should have put it in there now. But anyways, as you're on your deconstruction journey, many times people just leave church. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle their life. And they were in the church and they weren't thriving. They weren't recovering. They weren't doing well. Then they leave the church and they're like, I thought life would be better. But once you leave the church sometimes is still in you, and it's in you, in your mindset, in your thoughts, things that were said to you. And so that's what we're here to do. Some people did have questions, like I said before, and I'll give answers. My journey, how did you come from being in the church as a first lady, pastor's wife, worship leader, then over here into spirituality and setting intentions and manifesting, right? So if you have questions, put them in the chat. That's fine. We'll talk about it, but we'll also talk about our mindset. The first thing is someone told me, I'm really scared to leave my church. Hey, YouTube. And you can just put yourself in the comments. That way I'll always remember you here, because I'm also on TikTok. But some people will say, I'm afraid. Just yesterday, someone said that I'm afraid to leave church because that's all I've known and you're scared. First things first. If you are scared to leave anything, it's toxic. Just like I was hey, thank you very much. Just like I was married to a pastor who used to physically abuse me, almost killed me and my 2 children. Hey, I was afraid to leave that relationship. If I'm afraid to leave it, if you don't get anything else out of this live as you're moving forward, if I'm afraid to leave my church, that is a red flag, just like me being afraid to leave that marriage and me waiting, just like they did in the movies, waiting for him to fall asleep so that me and my kids at that time were 4 and 5 years old so that we could sneak out and take the car. And I used to watch those movies where the woman was getting abused and she would wait till he got home to leave. It's like, "He's at work all day, girl, leave." And I would just, be talking smack until I was in the situation, right? And then and the reason why now I see because he wouldn't allow me to work or do anything. I'd stay at home and had a in-home daycare. And I snuck out in the middle of the night with my kids because we only had 1 car. So that's why a lot of women that are in those relationships so if you're afraid to leave your church, again, if you're afraid, you know, they just told me 2 people actually, 1 person on Facebook and somebody on here, a couple, we're just 1 step away, but just man, it's just this fear. If if there was no reason for me to fear being in that toxic relationship with the pastor, I could have just stayed. Why wouldn't I have stayed? There was fear there, so that lets you know it wasn't a good situation. If you're afraid to leave your church, it's the same thing, it's toxic. So today is August 28th, and this is from the 31-day deconstruction, and if nothing else, again, if that's what your thing is, and if you know somebody like that, I'm here to equip you. Here's something that you can share with them, like, you tell them I'm free and I'm just saving my Sunday, hashtag saving Sunday, and I'm just living my life, and they're like, "Man, I wish I could do that." Somebody told me that too years ago. "I wish I could do that. I wish my pastor would let me." "What do you mean you wish your pastor would let you?" "I wish I could just leave. I wish I could just step down from leading the worship." If there's that kind of fear, that's a red flag. And so when I snuck out in the middle of the night with my 4 and 5-year-old because we only had 1 car, all of that is red flag. I'm not supposed to be there. It's a dangerous situation. If you are a couple, and it was a couple that said, me and my husband, and you may be on here, I'm not, nobody know who you are anyway. We've been talking about leaving. When it's simple, it's not benefiting me and my family. We don't have a savings. We don't have any kind of money to go on a vacation. We don't have any emergency funds, but yet we're giving to a building. What is there to question? You're giving your time. Even a great financial accountant or a financial advisor, they look through all your money and see where it's bleeding and see where you're just throwing money away, see where you're just giving it away, right? When you go to a church every Sunday, you're just giving your money away. You're throwing it away. And I'm not saying it's everybody, we know that. There may be, a couple that, oh yeah, they give to the community, they feed, they this, they that. It doesn't matter what they do. Because if he was called, then he should have vision. His God should be supplying the need. Or if she was called, it doesn't matter. Look at you're called to your household first. Like my person, my husband, my man, my Dion, what needs to be paid here? We're not paying our money to nobody until what is paid here is paid. What needs to be done here needs to be done. And so a lot of people, that's why we have these tools, is when they come out, they're still in bondage. They're like, I left the plantation, I left the church, but in my mind, I'm still in bondage. And if you're just joining, we're doing question and answer, of course. You can ask all the questions. Yes, I was a first lady. Yes, I was this, and I'll tell the story. But it's also about recovery. People have said I've been on medication ever since I left the church. Like seriously, like I had to be on medication because of the trauma that happened with them. So you need something to reprogram your mind and reprogram your thoughts because it's been poured into you and it's been put into you that I'm just this and I'm just that. And I can't have this because I'm not worthy. And if you've seen my videos, you heard me talk about this stuff. But now it's really time for us to focus on recovery. And people say, you don't go live with anybody. I do. I do go live, but I don't want to sit and talk about what happened to our grandparents and our mom. And we know what happened. We know all the stories. It's time for us to recover. It's time for us to heal. It's time for us to have a new mindset. Some of you can't even move forward in life, even though you left the church. You don't even go to church anymore. But there's so much damage. and wounds that have not been tapped into. You're free physically, but in your mind, are you carefree? Are you religion free? Are you really pastor free? Are you really church free? Or is it something that the church mother said or something that a pastor would have said to you that is still in your mind and is keeping you stuck? Some of you have left, but you still have this fear that the reason why I'm still not financially abundant is because I'm not giving. Deep down inside, you stop tithing, you stop giving, but there is a core belief inside of you that said, this is the reason why I'm not blessed because in the back of your mind, in the back of your mind, it's still there. And that's what you have to cleanse out and reprogram. And Ricky Kitwood, that's one of his main statements is reprogramming. And that's all you have to do. And we'll get into, if you want me to, I'll read one from my abundance deck to give you an idea. Just put in a chat, money or abundance, and I'll read one and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll give you an example. But because we're on deconstruction, that's where we are. And these are the things that you have to speak and say to yourself. I am carefree. I'm religion free. I'm pastor free. I'm church free. I'm finally free. I'm church clothes free because a lot of our money went to buying church clothes. A lot of our money went to going to 3 o'clock services and all the trouble. It's like Sunday morning should be easy. That's why me and Dion did the video, and this is our new campaign, Saving Sunday. Sunday should be easy, but for some of us, Sundays is like another work day. You got to set the alarm. You got to get your church clothes out, right? Hey, you gotta get your church clothes, you gotta get the kids ready, you gotta pack snacks for them to be in children's church. It's like a whole production just to go to church. And then you gotta go pay. Like Sundays are supposed to be free. If you don't get anything else out of this live, Sundays are supposed to be free. We've done enough. It's enough is enough. And we sit here and we complain about the government and we complain that black people don't support each other. And we have all these complaints, but nobody complains and nobody talks about how high the church prices are. We talk about how high the egg prices are. We talk about how high gas is. But church is an expense, especially if you're not getting a return. You're not getting anything back that is substantial. And I will keep repeating it. If you just look at yourself, look at your finances, that's if you go to church. There's still a lot of people that go to church here. I don't care if you do. I don't care if you have a pastor. I don't care if you go to church. I don't care if you're a part of auxiliaries. I don't care if you still wear stockings. If you don't have money stacked up, the financial advisors say 3 to 6 months salary saved up. If you don't have that, if you don't have insurance, like my daddy used to say, insurance, you don't have insurance. You don't have what they call an emergency fund. And in my manifestation channel over there, we don't even use that word emergency fund, but I'm just gonna use it because people know. Money saved up, money for your kids. If you can't take a Jet2 holiday right now because you ain't got no money, you have no business giving money to a church. You don't. I don't care if you agree or not. You don't. Because I used to be a first lady. I know how the money goes. I know. It's first gonna go to the pastor. He's gonna get his cut, no matter what. He's gonna get his cut. And then if the wife is on salary, because sometimes they have churches where she's full-time as well, it's gonna go to her. Then it's gonna go to the musicians and other people that carry the service. They don't pay taxes, so it's gonna go to all those different places. And then think about this. It goes to all the little different, decorative things for the church building and the property. So when you drive up and you see the parking lot, the little bumper, and they had to paint pastor on it, you pay for that. They had to paint first lady. And let's just say, and I've researched it, it's about $150 to get one of those things painted. Now, you may not have paid it by yourself collectively. You all are paying for all of that, but yet when you go home, you're on payment plans, right? You're calling, TXU or whatever state you're in and saying, "Hey, can I get an extension?" You're on extensions, you're on payment plans, you're ducking and dodging phone calls and emails, but yet you just gave. And somebody made a, uneducated comment and said, "Nobody's compelling people to give." The hell they're not. Yes, they are. Pastors are compelling people to give by using fear. And when the conditioning is deep, and when the conditioning is and the programming is deep, yes, they are being compelled. When that's all that they know, when that's all that people know is fear, and they grew up in it from the time they was -2. While they were in the mama's belly, they was going to church. Mama sitting up there and they in the belly, just in church. You've been in church since placenta time, right? And you grew up in it, and that's all you know. Yes, they are being compelled because they're being threatened. You're not going to be blessed. One pastor told us when I was doing the worship, because people would miss church to go to work, and put a curse and said, the next time that you miss church to go to work, God's going to take that job from you. But then how am I gonna get my tithes, fool? You see what I'm saying? It's like the we were being compelled to give. So if you're just joining, we are just here deconstructing, but we're recovering, we're healing, and we're learning how to thrive. Because you can leave the church, but the church still be in you, and you wonder why, you know, you're not thriving and moving forward. It's like I'm free from that. I'm not in it. So this is day 28. This is from my 31 day. I'm gonna do 25 just because I feel like it. Um, 'Cause this is a powerful one too, because once you leave, and what these do is it teaches you how to speak for yourself. It teaches you how to talk. It teaches you how to live. Because for some of us, we have been in church for over 20, 25 years. And once you leave, you don't really know how to live sometimes. So let's read this. If asked about my faith, what church I go to, or who is my pastor, I boldly speak up for myself and declare my new beliefs. Not for them, but for me. I take my voice back and use it to empower myself. Man cannot do anything to me. They need to focus on themselves anyway. And these are things that you're going to have to reprogram your mind because you know what you're going to hear. Don't forsake the assembling of yourselves. You're going to hear somebody tell that to you, and you're going to hear it in your mind. And I know for some of us, when we first started going to church, that first Sunday was a little awkward. A little awkward, you know what to do. You didn't know what to do. And it just felt weird. Baby, you better tell us about it. You are compelled. Somebody said, use common sense. The person that made that comment, you need to use common sense and know that people are programmed and conditioned, and you're compelled with fear to give and stay in it. And when they left, they tried to ruin their life. I've been there. They called me a witch and called me all kind of things when I divorced my then pastor husband as a first lady. They told me all kind of things that you a witch, and what God joined together, let no man turn us. What God has joined together, let no man turn asunder. And I told that pastor, God didn't join us together. We did. I was trying to get out of my mama's house. She lived in the country and it was hot. She didn't have no AC, and no phone. We were 21, and he just wanted to have a church. And they told him, you can't be a pastor without a first lady. And I fit the bill, even though he was in love with somebody else. I fit the bill because back then I didn't wear no makeup. I just wore a ponytail and I had that sanctimonious look. The person that he was in love with had a piercing, tattoos, all the things. When we talked about it, now I'm like, man, you should have married a girl. That's who you should have married. But when I was in that, they told us this is what you have to do to be married in order to be pleasing before God. And so we just it was a marriage of convenience. And I told him God didn't join us together, we sure did. And that's why it's gonna that's why I'm about to end it. That's why it's about to fall apart. God did not join us together. 7 years of pure hell. Okay? Getting hit on, and not in a sexual way. Getting literally hit on and then told that's just the devil, first lady, the devil just trying to steal your marriage. I said, well, the devil sure looked like my ex-husband. He sure looked like him. I'm telling you, I know what the devil looked like, y'all. And just be quiet and just, keep praying, keep tarrying, keep holding on. You understand? But so there's a compelling of fear to give. There's a compelling fear to stay in that mess, like she said, and to stay in abusive relationships, especially as a first lady. Then you can't talk to nobody. You can't talk to nobody in the audience because they're here. You need to go find other first ladies. So now all of us abusive first ladies just get together having brunch. just lying and faking and shaking and wearing masks. I didn't wear no mask. I was a bad first lady, just a bad one. I bucked everything. I'm not wearing that hat. I'm 21, got me in these Juanita Bynum outfits down to my ankles. I'm not wearing that. So anyways, what we're talking about here is how to the recovery process when you leave. And I put it in the chat what we're doing. We're working from my 31-day tools. Yes, I'm here on YouTube. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, I'm here on YouTube as well. And if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. But we can also read more cards, and they're also in booklet forms as well. Because as you are going through this recovery process, you can take this along the day. Because thoughts are going to come. Thoughts are going to come throughout the day. Thoughts are going to come throughout your process that you're wrong. You're still going to hell. God is not pleased. And we started out with saying that if you are afraid to leave that institution, that there's something wrong with just stick to that part. The fact that you are afraid. It's the same thing as being afraid to leave a DV relationship. It's the same thing. And here we're brought to this place because I have a Life After Church series, and it's about learning how to speak up for yourself. Some of us don't know what to say, and some of us lie. You're still lying. When somebody said, "Did you go to church?" "Oh, no, my car broke." No, you didn't want to go, and so you didn't go. My car broke down, and you just do all the things because you don't want mama to know, you don't want granny to know, Nana, Uncle Ray Ray, and Amy and them to know that you're not going to church. So you're lying and you're not living in your authentic truth. So that's what we're here to do. And I answered the questions and was like, can we go live? I want to go live. And I don't go live with a lot of people because I don't want to hash and just talk about what happened to Brittany and what happened in the church. We all know those stories. Okay. We all know the stories. I want to talk about recovery. I want to talk about healing. I want to talk about finances. Where's your money now? How to get your money right? How to get your mind right? I'm glad I'm stubborn and hard headed. Once I saw it for what it was, nothing could keep me there. And here's the thing I always say if it's not hurting you, it's not hurting others, you can help other people, at least help two families to live for a week. If you can't do that, you don't have no business going to a church bill. You just don't. And this is how you know it's toxic and it's bad. When pastors get upset with me when I say black families, I can't talk to interracial. That all goes together. I don't care. If you're considered black, because we are the ones that's low on the totem pole, right? We're the ones that's still climbing up the rough side of the mountain. I'm talking about collectively. I'm not talking about individually. When a pastor gets mad at me for telling a black family, "Hey, save your money, make sure you have an emergency fund, make sure that you have this for your child, make sure something happens with the government or this, you have whatever the coins are. I don't care if it's Bitcoin, I don't care what it is. Make sure that you have that." And then for them to get mad at me, they should be championing that. But we already know why they're not. They should be like, yes, the black families in my church should be financially stable. The black families in my church, they should be able to do those things. But no, they get mad because they don't have any other skill set but hooping and hollering. That's all they know how to do. And if we empty these pews, we already know what's going to happen. So that's how you know again. If you have fear to leave, that's your red flag. If a pastor's getting mad because I'm saying that black families need to focus on their own black families, that's also a red flag. So when people ask you, you're gonna have to work yourself up to it because I know it's scary when you first get out of it because we've been so conditioned and so afraid of that place called hell. But when people ask me about my faith or what church I go to, because those are the main questions. I don't care where you are. If you are a black person and you go somewhere, one of the first questions they gonna ask you is, "What church do you go to?" I don't hear it a lot lately. I know when I was growing up, that's what it was because people are deconstructing. But back in the day, that used to be the main question. "So what church you go to?" Like I just met you. We at the pool with the kids. "Hey, how you doing? I like your hair. Me too. I like your hair. It's nice. So what church you go to? Where do you serve? Who the pastor over there?" "Oh, everyone. Okay." It's like that's our identity. And if we say we don't go to a church, oh my God. Then they wanna start lifting their hands, spreading their hands to you, just stretch your hands right now, so I'm praying in tongues. You know what I mean? Like, that has become our identity. We have to pull our money, energy, time, and resources back and put them into our families. We can end the live right now because that's the whole point of this whole page. That's the whole point of deconstruction communities. That's what this is all about. Hashtag saving Sunday. Save Sunday for yourself. What is wrong with that? Somebody just tell me. I don't care what you say anyway, because it's still right. What is wrong with telling somebody, take a break? It is time for you. Here's what I'm saying. If you're not financially set up, why are you doing it? First of all, Monday through Friday, and I've said this before, Monday through Friday, you go to a job to make money. And then on Saturday, you spend a lot of your time spending it because you got to do grocery shopping and all the things. And then on Sunday, you go to hear somebody tell you what to do with the rest of the money. When are you going to be grown? When are you going to take ownership? So I created a word, grownership. When are you going to take ownership of your life? And then you don't even have peace and you're not even cheerful about it. I gotta go to church. I gotta pay my tithes. And like they used to say back in the day, you ain't gotta do nothing but be black and die. You don't gotta do anything. But we gotta shake that fear off. We gotta shake all of these chains off because though slavery ended, it truly, really hasn't. Not only does society put you in the chains and tell you which field to work in, choose your field of work, right? Now you gotta go to church. It's like, are we ever gonna be shackle free? And that's where we started today. If you're just joining or you're just jumping in, yeah, we can read. I'm gonna read day one because that's a really good one too. But let's go back to where we started. Where we started. Um, let's just go here. Let's just do one since that's where we at. I release religion, the church, and institutionalized dogma. If what I learned as a child or as an adult does not serve me now, with compassion and authority, I let it go. Let it go. It's not serving you. It's not serving you, right? We'll go back to, I'm gonna find it because I want to stick to that. What number was that? I'll find it here. But anyway, if y'all have questions, let me look for it real quick. If y'all have questions, now's the time to ask. Oh, that's a good one. I am fully recovered from financial and spiritual misguidance. That's what we need to look at. I am fully recovered. And these are the things that you have to continually speak over yourself. And that's why people have a hard time on my other channel manifesting because there's so much stuff still inside of us that we haven't rid ourselves of. Okay, there's still so much programming. I've left the building, but the building is still in me. Where can I purchase the cards and the shirt? Both of them are at I am Dorian. TikTok doesn't let me put .com because they don't want conflict of interest. So I'm gonna write .com. I am Dorian.com. Right. And you can get it in booklet form as well. But I still want to find the one. I'm still gonna go back to day seven because that was really good. But there's so much in here about, you know, freeing your mind because that's where the breakthrough, like they used to say in church, that's where the breakthrough is because it's not just deconstruction. I have 13 different topics, right? I'll put them in here about eating habits. Church folk have the worst eating habits. Optimal health. They'll be sick and they'll just rather go to the prayer line instead of looking at what's in the grocery line. They rather go and pastors went off on me so bad when I said, got it. Pastors went off on me so bad when I said sometimes, your healing is not in the prayer line, but in the grocery line. And had the nerve to get in my inbox talking about, um, don't tell them Negroes that. You're not qualified to say that. Excuse me. And if y'all want me to, I'll read some from my other decks. Even though this is my deconstruction channel, I'll read some from abundance, optimal health. You just put which one you want. I'll put the topics in there. It is for my other channel, but I don't mind if it's going to help, and I know that it will. But you just have to open yourself up and say, okay, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to transform. I said money because abundance is too long and it takes up too much space. Those are the different topics. And in YouTube, I'll put them in here for you as well. Don't forget about y'all. Those are the ones. So if you see one, just say, you know what, Dorian, can you read one from this one? There it is. This is the one. Good Lord. I found you. There it is. That's where we started. I'm carefree, religion free, pastor free, church free, and finally free. Okay. If you have one of those 12, 13 that you want me to read from, and there's only 31 days, so if you pick a number, it has to be between 31. But yeah, I do the booklet as well because throughout the day, as you're working, you're gonna hear some things. And I'm telling you too, anything can trigger. When you come out of when you're deconstructing and you're coming into your spiritual freedom, anything can trigger you. Someone saying to you, your church hurt, it can trigger the trauma that you went through. Someone tell you could hear a gospel song. The other day, I heard this lady, she was dropping off her kids at school, and she was playing the Kirk Franklin song, "The Storm Is Over Now." And I'm watching her, and I talk about everything. So, if, I don't care. I used to be big, so I'm gonna talk about it. That's why I wrote 31-Day Eating Habits because I used to be big and addicted to food. She was very, very big, and she looked very, very sick. And her two kids got out of the car, and they were very, very big. And she was listening to this song, "The Storm Is Over Now," not realizing that she's still in it. You're listening to this gospel song talking about the storm is over now, but we don't have control over our eating habits and mastering our eating habits. Well, sometimes, Joanne, people have thyroid issues. Let me tell you something. We are so quick to justify and try to use some kind of excuse. But here's the thing, you go to a building where the healer is. This is why I'm calling it. I'm calling it. I'm calling it all out. Why are we still living in sickness then? Why is there still so many, hey, Farrah, that's my daughter. Why are we still living under all of these cancers and all these diseases and all these things, but yet we go to the healer's house every week? Something doesn't add up, it doesn't line up. But hey, just keep giving, you just keep sowing, and then you'll get your breakthrough. No, the breakthrough is breaking bad habits. Our bodies are natural healers, and I talk about that. Our bodies are natural healers. We just have to stop making excuses because if one person can do it, another person can do it. What it is the mentality. It's the mentality that everybody in our family have gout, everybody in our family go through this, and we just gonna hold on to God's unchanging hand and keep climbing up the rough side of the mountain. And I talk about in my other set, Optimal Health, how you can speak to your body. Here's the thing, this is why there's no excuse. It tells you that you have whatsoever you say. So why can't you speak to the sickness and disease in your body? It tells you that if you speak to this mountain, it'll be removed. As a man thinks in his heart, so is a man. That's why it's all BS. We say all of these things, but then we don't see the results. In the song, Kirk Franklin song, "The Storm Is Over Now," no more sickness in my body. What do you mean? We sing these songs and we say these words, but there's no fruit. Why? Answer the questions. That's what I tell the pastors. But you yet keep having these people give their money when you can take that money and go buy some healthy food, buy healthy drinks. You can take that money and put it into learning about your body. Okay, then how do I control these hormones in my body? How do I address the thyroid issue? Because if you serve this great big God who's just going to allow you to be in a body that you can't heal and you can't fix, what is the point? Well, because he gives his strongest, he gives his battles to his strongest soldiers. That's toxic. Why? Why? This is what this is all about. It's about critical thinking. It's about us being critical thinkers and time out for allowing pastors to get away with stuff. And yes, we have to take accountability too, because they can talk, 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 but we have to stop receiving it. All we need to do is take the same tools that they tell you. You'll know a tree by its fruit. Look at the fruit of your life. You know what? Let's just start from this year. Let's just start from the beginning of January. How has life gotten better for you and your family? And I'm talking about better, better. How has life gotten better for you since January up until this point, from you going to church, picking your tithes, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever it is? And if you have stopped going to church from January to this time, where are you at? How is your recovery? Because if it's still a struggle, this is where it's at. It's all right here, mental. And you may think, oh, good, I'm just tired. I'm just done with this church. I'm done with church. I don't go to church. But you still have to take the responsibility of thriving in life. That's the whole point. It's not just about saying, "Oh, good, I heard they gotta go to church, cool. I ain't got a tithe, cool." But where are we at when it comes to thriving? Where are we at when it comes to us being on top, us having more land? Why are we still driving around white neighborhoods and then we see a black family? Oh, look, there go a black family. That should be normal for us. But it can't be because of where we've been, the programming and all the things, right? All right, do y'all have a number? It's only, day 1 through 31, so there's only 31 days. You have a number that you want me to read or one from one of the topics, or I'll just keep going. I did put them in the chitty chat. If you're just joining, those are the topics. Okay. Hey, yeah, those are the topics. Mhm. And we're learning how to speak up for ourselves as well. That's where we started as also. We started where when people say, "What church do you go to?" What do you say now? How do I talk to Dion, my partner? His dad's a pastor, and we've come together, and it was a thing because here I am away from church into spiritual freedom. I don't do tarot. I don't do oracle cards and things like that. I set intentions. I help people reprogram and renew their mind because the mind, what's going on up here is what's blocking all the things in your life, right? So yeah, it was a thing, him stepping away from the church and coming out of it and then aligning with me and having to boldly speak up for himself. That's why I talk the way I talk when I'm on these channels because here's the thing. People always say, "Oh, it's so funny when you go up on these people." I don't think it's funny because when they say inappropriate things and project fear and project drama onto us over here, I boldly speak back to them because we've left the church and here y'all come over here still projecting fear, bringing the church over here. We're here in a deconstruction community. We're outside the walls and here y'all coming over here with all your trauma and all your fear, all your gluttonousness, coming over here trying to tell us what we need to be doing with our lives, projecting more trauma. And some people are still recovering and healing, and here they come picking at the scab. Oh, you're just hurt. That's projection. They're hurt. And so here they are coming over here. They're jealous. They're envious because they're not free. They want us to get back on the plantation so bad. Why would we want to go back to that? Somebody told me he was a pastor's son, and he came in my inbox the other day and he said, "I'm just one step away from leaving. I really am. And seeing you on Sunday, just being so free doesn't make it any better." He was joking about that part, but he was just saying, "And just seeing you." Right. I'm free. I'm out in nature. I'm out in the woods, living my best life. And then I will tell them church folk, isn't that where God met Adam and Eve in your book? Didn't he meet them in the garden? Okay, there was no building there. He met them in the garden, in the grass, in the fields, with the trees. So it is time out for being manipulated. It is time out for being tricked and duped. At this point, us, and yes, anybody else that's in those kind of those institutions in your different race, and it applies, take it. But it is time for us to stop making excuses, hold these people accountable by emptying the pews and getting your life together. Get your family right. You can complain about the government all the time, and, like, when I talk about abundance on my other channel, and we go through if you want me to read one, just let me know, I will. When we talk about abundance and they complain about, the new administration, the administration doing this, and we need to pray for a new administration, we need to pray, because being in debt for 5 presidents, let's say how many if there's 5 if they're for 20 years, how many presidents is that? 5 or 4, whichever one. If you've been in debt for 20 years, we've had 4 or 5 presidents. It's not the president, it's you. You're the common denominator. You can't blame the administration for your finances, especially if you still been giving to church. Now, I'm not saying that, okay, if I stop giving to this church right now, and it's been 2 weeks, it's been 3 weeks, it's gonna take time depending on how deep you are in your financial situation, and it depends on how long you're gonna stop doing that, okay? It can happen, at least you'll get some relief. Let's just say you go Sunday and you know you have discipline, and instead of going there, you just say, "Yes, you got your money." At least it's a start of relief and ease. And so the pastor, one of them said, "What you trying to do?" "I ain't trying to do nothing. I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing exactly what I'm doing. You see what I'm doing. You're just mad about what I'm doing, and you don't like what I'm doing." And people are taking their lives back, taking their money back, taking their sanity back, all of their resources. It is simply this: focus on yourself. They need to focus on themselves anyway. Focus on yourself. What you worried about? This is what I'll tell the parent. What you worried about? God called you. God told you to start a church. So you're gonna be fine. Trust God. One of the main videos that they mad about. Trust God that He's gonna provide for you and let these people have some relief. Now, again, it is up to people, you yourself. You are responsible for, taking accountability for your own actions at this point. You can't keep blaming the pastor. You can't keep blaming the church. Okay. I'm going to read one because I feel like it from my abundance deck. Mhm. Let's do this one. It says, I release all childhood limiting beliefs about money. I allow them all to come up to the surface so I can reprogram my mind to think thoughts that better serve me. I will address and release each one with compassion. So if you are the one that's struggling financially, even though you've left the church. Now, if you're struggling financially and you still go to church, it's don't apply to you. I already told you what your answer is. I already told you. So that's on you. Keep struggling. And no, we're not going to start a GoFundMe for you. If something happens, go find your church. Go find your pastor. If you're still giving to the church and you're struggling financially, that's on you. This is for those that have left. So here's one thing that you may need to work on. What are some childhood limiting beliefs that you have? Allow that stuff to come up. Don't run from it and have fear and doubt. Let it come up and say, okay, you know what? I have a belief that unless I give to the church, I won't be blessed. You may still be living with that and don't even know it. And you're just thinking, I'm struggling because I have too many bills. I'm struggling because I don't make enough money in on my job. I'm struggling because my baby daddy don't pay child support. I'm struggling because my baby mama not paying child support. Sometimes that's the situation. So, what are some childhood beliefs that you have about money? They don't teach you this stuff in church. They just teach you to give that $30 seed for a 30-day miracle breakthrough. That's all they teach you. Give and watch God bless you. And you'll have a roof over your head. No, I'm gonna have a roof over my head because I'm gonna pay my rent or I'm gonna pay my mortgage. That's why I'm gonna have a roof over. It's time for us to just wake up, seriously, and start critically thinking. What childhood limiting beliefs do I have about money? And then when they come up, or you may have one that says, I can only make money from my job. That's another one that's in here. I only get paid on the 1st and 15th. That's a limiting belief. Okay. And then, pastors will tell you not only do you give your tithe, you need to give your offering. You need to give your first fruits. You need to give to the pastor's anniversary. And then you need to get, we got to stop. We have to stop. We got to reprogram our mind. All those different offerings. And then somebody else said something crazy. Why are you worried about what your parents did? That was their money. Because I made a video about what if our parents had have saved all that money or did something different where we would be, financially, just collectively as Black people. And they were like, well, that's their money. That's what they chose to do. But they did it in a sense being programmed. They were conditioned to do that. And here's the point. When you have kids, that's the whole point of being able to take care of your kids. And some of them could not really even take care of us well. Some of us couldn't even do anything, couldn't even thrive because our parents didn't have money. I couldn't play sports because she couldn't afford to buy me uniforms, but she could afford to pay her tithes and offering. And here's the thing, they only did what they knew to do. So we can't blame them. We can't, drag our ancestors and drag our grandparents and our parents because that's all they knew. All they knew was church. All they knew was, what the pastor told them to do. That's all they knew. So it's about making better decisions. And here's the thing, why was it important that they should have known better, or if they would have known better? Because then our generation, we wouldn't be struggling. We'd have more resources as a Black community. That's the thing, as a Black community. And back then, they had the Martin Luther King era, and they were talking about that, right? Well, that's why they gave money to churches. That's totally different. They were trying to support a cause and campaigns and all the things. You weren't there, you don't know. We're talking about right now. We're talking about right now. We're not doing that. Churches are not being threatened and they're not being bombed. They're being shot up by different types of people, not us. Okay? That's what's happening in churches. In schools, they're getting shot up by different types of people. So we don't have that threat to where we need to pay the pastor so that they can have protection, like somebody said. That's why they need armor bearers, and we need to pay for them. They're not being threatened. They're not a threat. Government told them to shut down 2020 anyway. It wasn't essential. I talked about that. So anyway, that's what we were talking about today before we wrap it up, is you are afraid to leave your church. It's no different from being afraid to leave a relationship that's abusive. That's a red flag. If somebody says, "Hey, your family is not right financially," and you look and you say, "Oh, yeah." And here's the thing, some people still go to church and they just don't give their money. If that's what you wanna do, great. I don't know how you're gonna get away with it unless you're at a big, big church, because I know at those small churches, they'll find you. They'll find you, or they'll start preaching them crazy sermons across the pulpit to try to get your attention. But there are people, and people have been in the comments and said, "I've been going for 20 years," and they said, "I ain't gave them nothing." And some people, they won't bother you, but a lot of times they'll call on you to serve in ministry, and they'll call on you to give, things like that, right? If that's what you wanna do, that's what you wanna do. And then we also talked about how we need to stand up and speak, okay? And we'll go back to that since we're, in deconstruction. That was just an example of abundance. We'll go back to that, and if you want me to read another one from this one, I will before we leave. There's only 31 because there's 31 days, right? But you you can't just say, "Okay, I left church," and then think that it's gonna be okay, especially if you've been programmed and conditioned for many, many years. It's no different from leaving an abusive relationship. When I left the pastor abusive relationship, I still had to reprogram my mind just from the relationship itself, that I didn't deserve to be here. I didn't deserve to be used. I didn't deserve to get fired from churches because as a musician, because I went to sleep with the pastor. I had to reprogram all kind of things inside of my mind. So just because it's no different too from when there's a young girl or a young boy that's been trafficked, and they've been trafficked for 13 years, and now they come out of it. You can't just say, "Okay, go to school," and just put them in school and they're teenagers and they're just gonna be normal. There's gonna be some trauma there that still has to be released, that has to be healed. There's still some trauma from the church that still needs to be released, and that's why we're here. Let's go back to what's today? Today's 28th. This is where we are, and this is where we're gonna end today. And back to that situation, if there's a 13-year-old girl and she's been trafficked for the last 8 years, or a boy, and they come out, you gotta wash them off, you gotta change their outer clothes, you gotta get them all fixed up, and that's the first thing they do, is when they pull them out of those situations and rescue them, they clean out their outer, and now they look okay, they look good on the inside, and that's where a lot of us are that have left the church, planning to leave the church. So we're here to prep you that if you are about to walk away from that, get ready to become a better person, a better version of yourself, but get ready to reprogram your thoughts and your mind and dig up that stuff. And this is one of the things you'll start with. When you wake up every day, there will be a different message for you. And sometimes you can double up. Day 13 may be, hey, I need to stick with day 13 because that's where I am, on top of day 28. So you wake up, I'm carefree, I'm religion free, I'm pastor free, I'm church free, I'm finally free. I'm church clothes free. I ain't got to worry about getting no church clothes and spending money on that. Take that money and buy your child some clothes. Put that money on your child's lunch account. Okay, put that somewhere off to the side. Okay, or go treat yourself on a Sunday morning. I'm Sunday, Wednesday night free, Thursday night free. You're just free, and all is well. And it's important for you to keep speaking that over yourself and speaking that over your life because you're gonna always hear it in the back of your mind from people that are still in bondage, people that's still on the plantation, reaching out the gate, trying to pull you back in because they're not free. Okay? That's it. Again, if you want those tools, that's what I call them. I call them tools. They're on my website at iamjoyan.com. And when I go live again, it'll just be a different situation. I have my YouTube channel as well. And I have playlists. Why you don't need a pastor, why I stopped tithing, life after church. And one thing that I don't do, that's why I don't go live with people a lot, because I'm not here to bash pastors, I'm not here to bash church. For what? They bash themselves every time they open their doors and somebody reports it and puts it on TikTok or Facebook. They embarrass themselves. Why are you mocking the church? Sweetheart, I don't have to do that. They do that themselves. Every single week, the church is mocking itself and mocking Christianity. So I don't have to do that. My focus is on recovery. My focus is on healing. My focus is on thriving now, how to thrive. That's why I have the 12 different ones. I have it on even love, even union, because some of you married your spouse because you was at a certain church and you were at a certain faith. And now some of you have left the church and your spouse is still in there. That's a whole other topic. And your spouse is still tithing, whether it's the husband or the wife. One of them is still tithing, one of them is still going, and now you deconstructed, and now there's this kind of tension in the house. And some people just cool with it. She can go to church. She can give her money, but some of them have those issues where the husband doesn't agree or the wife doesn't agree, and you're still tithing and giving. So that's a whole other issue. And some people, it's just the truth. Some people are not staying with their spouses because it wasn't really ordained for them to be together. They didn't really choose each other. It was more so the church chose for them to be together, and not so much the church said, "That's your spouse." Now, some people, they have done it. I was in a cult like that when I was, 18, before I married the pastor. We went from one evil to another evil. I was in a cult church like that, where they would tell you who your spouse is, who you should be friends with, how to name your kids, and it was a black church too. Anyways, but yeah, so some people are together with the spouse, and they wonder why they don't feel that love, they don't feel that union, they don't feel like this is the right person to be with because you only married that person because, y'all all went to the same church or because that's what your parents picked out for you or, you're in the same faith. We're both Christians. Now one of you is not a Christian anymore and the other one is. So it's a lot to deconstruct. So there you have it. Follow my YouTube because that's where I have the full videos. I just put clips over here. You can get those. Here you go, YouTube. You can get those at my website, iamdorian.com. Until next time.